Next, I'm excited to welcome up Miranda Gale. She was the one we couldn't find before. When I looked at her description, we asked everybody to submit one, and she, one-line description of introducing themselves. She wasn't really sure, which is probably why when I called Miranda Gale, it took a little while to find her. She's a recent AU grad. She's not really sure what's next, and we're going to learn a little bit about what life is like when you're not sure what's next. Architecture of Indecision. Thank you, Miranda.
Flightiness, irresolution, changeability, flip-floppiness, these are all symptoms of the same bug. Hi, I'm Miranda Gale, a recovering dilettante, and I'm here to talk to you about the architecture of indecision. Life has fired at us point blank, and this is true in the digital age more than ever. We're faced with hyper-choice, information overload, quick decisions. And so obviously we're very capable of handling this sort of situation, but it does make us a bit more indecisive. So let's go back to the root of the decision, or decido in Latin. It has two interesting meanings. One, to choose, and the other is to fall. So let's say to fall off a cliff, or the deciduous trees that fall with the leaves. This is the center of symptomatic indecision, what I call symptomatic indecision. And it's really the fear of making a decision that evokes the imagery of falling. And so this is something that I have suffered with. As you can see here, this is my first attempt at an infographic. And this is my this is my approximate level of career ambivalence through 8 years of my life. So as you can see, I started at a school for the arts for musical theater, and then I went and got my degree in aesthetics, facials, and then I had this sort of decision critical mass where I went into diplomacy and law and broadcast journalism and passion parties, anyone? And then I finally decided on public relations and marketing. But this is really the quote that was the bane of my existence. Every decision you make is a big mistake. So I had imagery of cliffs and burning bridges and severing options, and these are terrible verbs when you're making life decisions. So I created the medical grade toolkit for fighting ambivalence. It's a little bit of what I've come up with, some things that experts have, and hopefully something that'll help you out. So the first step is to sort of ready yourself and create magnetism in your inner compass. So kind of figure out what your core values are and your goals. Obviously, this is something you've heard before, but I find it a lot easier when I have something to align myself with and figure out what I want to do. Then you can kind of get at the source. All of you here are very good at gathering information and connecting with your community because you're here. So that's awesome. Good job. But physically going to a location helps you when you need to make a gut decision. Have a Malcolm moment. Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book Blink, and in it he had conclusive evidence that sometimes informed split-second decisions are much better than these long-term decision-making patterns that we have. So trust your gut, but if you don't have a gut reaction, Benjify. Benjamin Franklin used to write a pro-con list, and if a pro and a con equaled each other out, he'd cross it out and study the rest of the list. So that way, he wasn't looking at the length of the list, but the actual content. If that doesn't work, imagine yourself down each potential road. So a little bit like Figment the Dragon, the imagination train, get on it. And so that's going to help you. It'll kind of help you bring it to a more concrete instead of abstract option. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. A quote by Albert Einstein. So maybe just go back into your past potential decision-making fallacies and see if you're making those. Here's an interesting concept. Try on 6 different ways of looking at a problem. With your creative hat, with your data hat, with your optimism hat, with your not optimism hat, and some other options that'll really help you look at a problem in different ways. And then try something new. So something that I did recently was a mathematical grid. So you kind of mathematically weigh your options. And so that's an option, or you can go meditate, or you can go climb a mountain, something to get you out of your comfort zone so that you can do it. And clearly this is the hardest part for everybody, but it's important because this way, it's not jumping off a cliff. You've done the groundwork, and now all you have to do is communicate it to yourself and others. And now you just have to reject regret. Alcohol helps, but what I definitely do is journaling or documentation, microblogging, napkins, something that I can refer back to my decision-making method, and then that way I can assuage myself. And then your mantra, whichever decision you made is the right decision. If you're like in the fetal position in the shower, whichever decision you made is the right decision. And don't forget the bright side of indecision, okay? So through this constructive period in your life, you're trying new things, you're challenging yourself, you're becoming something greater. So a little bit of decision, if channeled correctly, can make you a more multifaceted and an interesting person to be around. Thank you.